Hello guys, welcome back to the class. So in this class we will learn how to set up a domain controller. This is done by implementing a new forest for an Active Directory environment. This will be done first by installing Active Directory Domain Services role, and next we will promote this server 2019 server to be a domain controller. While doing so, we will also install DNS server role to use as an Active Directory integrated DNS zones. Also we will install DHCP server role. Okay, so let's begin the show. So before that you have to do a checklist. Okay, number one is you must have admin privileges, and second, your server 2019, the server with the clean installation on which Active Directory domain services has not yet been installed and no server roles are there, means it's just a fresh clean box with just 2019 server operating system installed. That's it. So it needs to have a static IP address in order to install DNS server role, and you must log in with an administrator privileges. So let's begin the show. Let us open VirtualBox Manager. So this is the VirtualBox Manager, and let's start the operating system. So now we have to give an input of Ctrl-Alt-Delete. Now carefully observe the login screen, friends. So this is an administrator account. You have to provide your administrator password. Nothing much is there on the screen. So now type your password to log in into the server. So we have logged in into the server. Let me maximize the screen. We are in a full screen mode now. So go to the Windows Start menu button, and here you can see some tools like PowerShell, Server Manager, Windows Administrative Tools, and so on. So Server Manager is a tool that we are going to use in this class. Open the Server Manager. So before installing Active Directory Domain Services role, we had checklist, 2 points checklist, that is you must have an administrator privileges that you have logged in via administrator account. If you want to confirm, just open your command prompt, type cmd. Now in the command prompt just type who am I. Who am I? So you are an administrator on Predator DC computer or server in this case. So close this, and the next point in the checklist is that you have to check whether you have a static IP address or a DHCP IP address. Or that is, the DHCP address is the IP address provided by DHCP server. In case of this scenario, in case of my lab setup, it is provided by my home router. So this is the dashboard of a server manager. Here you have some options like dashboard, local server, all servers, file storage. As you install services, okay, services roles like DNS, DHCP, ADDS services roles, that would be listed over here. Now click on the local server. This is the description or summary of your computer, the properties for this Predator DC. As you can see over here, computer name is Predator DC, it's a part of work group, firewall is on, remote management enabled, and so on. And here installed, last installed updates never, and so on. Now here in the Ethernet option, IP address, IPv4 address is assigned by DHCP. So that you have to change from DHCP to static. So click over here, that is point number 2 in our checklist. This is the Ethernet adapter. Select the Ethernet adapter, left click and click on the properties. Now select IPv4, Internet Protocol version 4, and click on the properties again. As you can see in this window, Internet Protocol version 4 properties window, the IP address is actually allocated automatically because it is given by the DHCP server. You have to change it to use the following IP address, and also the preferred DNS will be changed when you select this option. Before giving the IP address, let me check the IP address of my own Predator DC computer. Open run and type cmd, hit enter. Now type ipconfig config. The IP address of this server Predator DC is 192.168.1.193, and the subnet mask is 192.168.1.1. So let me change it to 192.168.1.190. 192.168.1.190. Subnet mask is 255.255.255.0, and the default gateway is again 192.168.1.190. 168.1.1. In the preferred DNS, I'm going to use the IP address of this server itself, okay, because we are installing a DNS server role on this Predator DC server. So 192.168.1.190, and the alternate DNS server IP address should be like 8.8.8.8. So let me click on OK and close this Ethernet properties window. Now you must restart your computer in order to assign a static IP address that we have assigned to this server predator.dc. Close window, close the server manager and restart your computer. Type your password and hit enter. So we are on the server now. Now we have to promote this server to a domain controller. In order to do that, you have to install Active Directory Domain Services role. For that, you have to click on the Start menu button and open your Server Manager. This is the Server Manager dashboard, and on the top right side you can see some options over here like Manage, Tools, View and Help. Click on the Manage button. These are all the tools that you can use to administer this server. View and Help guide. So click on the Manage button and click on Add Roles and Features. Now this is the Roles and Features wizard where you are going to add Active Directory Domain Services roles. You can read over here. This wizard helps you to install roles and role services like DNS role service, DHCP role service, or features. You determine which role or which role service or feature needs to be installed. Okay, just click on the Next button. Now this is a installation type. You have two types of installations, a remote and a role based. You have to keep on a role based by default. Click on the Next, and now you can see select the destination server. Because we are on the Predator DC, we are not installing on any other server. Let it be like this without changing anything. So select Predator DC 192.168.1.190, which is the static IP address which we have configured. So select this, no changes in this wizard. Click on the Next. Now here we have a lot of roles, server roles. Pick up those server roles which you want to install. Like you have to install Active Directory Domain Services roles. You have to install DNS server role. You have to install DHCP server role. And if you want to install any other server roles, you can check those server roles. Okay. So let me click on Active Directory Domain Services. In order to install this Active Directory Domain Server Services role, you need to have these features to be installed, like remote server administration features to be installed and so on. Also click on the checkbox over here, include management tools if applicable. So add these features in order to install Active Directory Domain Services role. So these features are required for ADDS, add features. Then we are going to click on DNS server. In order to have DNS server role to be installed, you need these features. So add features, and also we will install DHCP server role. Again, for DHCP server role to be installed, you need these features to get installed on the system. So add these features. That's it. Now click on Next. Next. Here you can see Active Directory Domain Services. Active Directory Domain Services ADDS stores information about users, that is user accounts, computers, computer accounts, and other objects. Basically other devices means other objects on the network. ADDS helps to administrators securely and manage this information and facilitate resources for sharing and collaborating between the users on this domain controller after promoting to a domain controller. Okay. Now click Next. Read about the DNS server over here. So what is a DNS server? DNS server allows you to map IP addresses to a FQDN, that is fully qualified domain name. It means that, for example, the IP address of yahoo.com is 10.10.10.10. Then the DNS server will map the IP address to the fully qualified domain name. Okay. and click on the next. What is a DHCP server? DHCP server is a dynamic host configuration protocol server that basically not allows but leases the pool of a IP addresses. Pool means a range. Say for example 192.168.1.10 to 1.100 means you have 90 IP addresses. The IP addresses from that pool or that range of IP addresses will be allocated to the computers on your network. Okay. Next, so confirm installation selections. So this is what you are going to install on the server. Restart the destination server automatically if required. Yes. Okay, now click on the install in order to begin the installation of Active Directory domain services and DNS server and DHCP server roles. Install, and the installation process has begun, and this can take some time. So I will pause this video and I will resume this video when the installation is complete. Okay, now the Active Directory domain services role and DNS server role and DHCP server role has completed successfully. Let me close this. Before closing, please have an eye over here. You have two tasks yet to finish. That is, you have to promote this server. We have only installed ADDS role and DNS and DHCP server roles, but we have not yet promoted this to a domain controller. So there are two tasks to be completed, that is promoting the server to a domain controller, and also we have to complete the DHCP configuration. If you do not do this and if you close this, there will be a flag showing what needs to be done over here. Okay, so click on this link, promote this server to a domain controller. Now this wizard has opened, Active Directory domain services wizard configuration. Now you have three options over here. Add a domain controller to an existing domain. Since this is not a domain controller yet, we cannot do that. The option number 2 is add new domain to an existing forest. Since there is no forest, we cannot add a new domain. We have to create a new domain. In order to do that, you have to select the option number 3 or third option, add a new forest. So type a domain name, root domain name. Okay, that could be like something like INSECTECHS.in, or you can also type like INSECTECHS or insect.local. Okay, let me type INSECTECHS.in as my root domain name and click on next. You can have your own domain name over here. The domain name need not to be registered, okay, because you are working in the local environment. Next. So in the next option, that is domain controller options, you have a functional level of a forest and a root domain. You have a functional level of a forest as Windows Server 2016. That's it. And domain functional level as 2016. You know, this is a Windows Server 2019 operating system, but the functional level of this forest and root domain are restricted to Windows Server 2016. So let it be on Windows 2016 only. Specify domain controller capabilities, leave it default. Domain name system is already checked in and global catalog is also checked in. So now this is a password. You have to mention or type a strong password for DSRM, that is Directory Services Restore Mode. Type a password. Click on next. You have a notification, a kind of warning, so you can ignore this warning. Specify DNS delegation option, so click on next. Now this is an option to give a NetBIOS name. NetBIOS was used way back, but you can actually give a NetBIOS name. It should pop up so that it has come. So NetBIOS name of this system is INSECTECHS. You can change if you want, like INSEC or INSECTECHS. Okay, but it should not be more than 15 characters. So let it be INSECTECHS for. So let it be INSECTECHS as a NetBIOS domain name. So click on next. Now this is the path of following folders: database folder, log file folder, and a sys volume folder. In the previous class, we have seen where the ADDS database is stored. You know, it's stored in the root folder and ntds file, and the name of the database file is ntds.dit. You can change the path if you want. I will leave the defaults. Click on next. And this is the summary or review of the selections what you have selected. Okay, configuring this server as first ADDS in a new forest, and the domain name is insectex.in, NetBIOS name is INSECTECHS. Forest and domain functional level is server 2016. Additional options are global catalog enabled, yes, DNS, yes, and so on. If you are okay with the selections, you can proceed to click on the next button. If not, you can go to the previous button, click on the previous button to make any changes. For example, if you want to change the NetBIOS name, you can change by going back. Let me click on next button. So we have a notification. If you click install, the server automatically reboots at the end of promotion operation. That's okay. So as you can see, we have a green button over here. It means all prerequisite checks passed successfully. You can now click on the install button over here to proceed with the installation of ADDS promoting server to a domain controller. Click on install button. Installation is in progress. It is starting, and again this could take some time. I will resume the video when the installation is complete. So the server is now restarting. The computer is restarted and we are about to visit a log. Right now you can log into a domain controller. Earlier this was a server, you had only an administrator account. Now since this is a domain controller and the domain name is insectex.in, so you are now logging into a domain controller. So we are on a domain controller. So let us open server manager tool. Click on menu and click on server manager. Now this is the server manager and the dashboard of the server manager. Now if you see in the left pane, we have Active Directory domain services listed over here, DHCP, DNS, and so on. If you click on the manage button over here, if you click on the tools button over here, you can see Active Directory, AD sites and services, AD users and computers, DHCP and DNS, which were not there earlier. And we have yellow flag over here. This is a post deployment configuration, uncompleted task. So task details is given over here. You have to do a post deployment configuration for a DHCP server. Let me close, and we have a link over here. So click on the link, complete DHCP configuration. Click. This is a wizard for post install of configuring DHCP server role. Description: the following step will be performed to complete the configuration of DHCP server on a target computer. So what it will do is it will create two security groups for delegation of DHCP server administration. The groups are DHCP administrators and DHCP users. Also authorize DHCP server on target computer. You are authorizing this DHCP server service on this domain controller. So click on the next button. Authorization part. In the authorization part, you have to specify the credentials used to authorize this DHCP server in ADDS. Because we have installed ADDS services, now you have to authorize DHCP server in ADDS. For that, we need to have an administrator credentials. Since we have already logged using administrator credentials on this domain controller, the user account is administrator account, and we have sufficient privileges to authorize DHCP server in ADDS. Okay. Now you have to commit for the authorization. Click on commit. Status of post install configurations are satisfied. Now you can actually close. Now we have to configure a DHCP server, and in that we need at least one scope of DHCP server. I earlier told a pool. It's actually pool is called scope or DHCP scope. It's a range of IP addresses, and we need to have at least one DHCP scope. Okay. And for that, you need to click on tools, DHCP. So this is a DHCP management console. Let me drag over here, and the DHCP server is predator-dc.insectex.in. And now we have two options, IP version 4 and IP version 6. So let me select IP version 4. So we don't have any scope, so we have to add a scope. So what is a scope? You can see the definition. A scope is a range of IP addresses that I earlier told as a pool of IP addresses. So scope is a range of IP addresses assigned to computers requesting a dynamic IP address. So you must create and configure a scope before dynamic IP addresses can be assigned. So one scope needs to be created over here. So in order to add a scope, you can go to the action button over here and a new scope wizard will open. Let me cancel it and let me maximize it further. And if you see over here, this is a DHCP server, and on the IP4 you can actually right click and create a new scope from here as well. New scope creation wizard has opened. Click on the next button and you can name your scope, like I'm giving marketing department. So I'm giving the scope or pool of IP addresses to the marketing department. IP address ADD for market department, market department, let it be market. So next, now you can specify the start IP address and end IP address. In this case, I will start from 192.168.1.10 to 192.168.1.30. So I'm giving 20 IP addresses to the marketing department from 10 to 30. Okay. And the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. Click on the next button. And now here you have start IP address and end IP address to exclude from the scope. The scope was from 192.168.1.10 to 30. That is 20 IP addresses from 10 to 30. But if you want to exclude IP address 192.168.1.15, 1.16 and 1.20, you can specify those IP addresses, or you can specify the range, like from 192.168.1.20 to 192.168.1.25. It means that only IP addresses from 192.168.1.10 to 20 and again from 26 to 30 will be assigned in the scope. Okay, so let me leave it. Click on the next. And the least duration. What is the least duration? Least duration specifies how long a client can use this IP address, and by default the DHCP lease period is 8 days. I hope it's very small to see. I guess you can see now. By default the DHCP lease period is 8 days, but I can set it as 8 days itself, or I can change for 1 day or 2 days. Okay, so let it be 8 days. Click on the next button. So now configure DHCP options. Do you want to configure any DHCP options right now? So for the purpose of this class, I will select no, because I don't want to further configure any options further. So click on next and finish. So we have created a scope now. If you click on the scope, we have the address pool. So let me click on the address pool. So this is the scope 192.168.1.10 to 1.30, and we do not have any exclusions. So that's it guys. In this class we have configured the DHCP server as well with the scope and pool of IP addresses. So we have one more task left to finish, that is configuring DNS server and creating forward lookup zone and reverse lookup zone. But in the next class you will see the installation of Windows 10 operating system, because I want to add that operating system to the domain controller as a computer account. Then we will add few computer accounts and user accounts. Then we will configure the DNS server, because we need to play with forward lookup zones and reverse lookup zones, because very important when you are conducting internal penetration testing in enterprise environment. So see you in the next video guys. Have a great day. Thank you for watching the video, and do subscribe to the YouTube channel INSECTECHS.